Well, hello again and welcome to another episode of the Hyperion Adventures Podcast. I'm Tom. As always, I'm with my gorgeous, wonderful, intelligent, hard-working Walt Disney World loving wife and co-host, Michelle.
Thank you, sweetie. Hi, everybody.
So good to have you with us. We're recording this episode on Sunday, November 7th, 2021. Congratulations to all the participants of the Wine and Dine half marathon weekend. It looked like it was soggy for the first couple days, but today it looked like it cleared up and was nice, but it was just so good to see runDisney happening again.
Oh, I know. And seeing everybody's, big smiles and, despite the rain.
Despite the fact that you're running.
I know. Well, yeah, that too. I mean, but it was, it's understandable too. I mean, you put a lot of effort into a lot of times into what you want to wear for these races, and then to have to cover them up with ponchos or other rain gear things, could put a damper on the event, but I think just the fact that it's back, people are just so thrilled.
Yeah, it was just exciting to see after, more than 2 years since we've had a runDisney race. Just very happy. I don't know if it's more than 2 years, but it's been a long time, almost 2 years, if not more than 2 years since we've had a runDisney race. So it's just good to see people getting out there again. And runDisney may come in our Disney Stories of the Week as well. So we'll get to that later. Yes. Thank you for joining us today. In the future, you can find us most everywhere you get podcasts. However, the very best place to find us is on our own website, HyperionAdventuresPodcast.com. And while you're there,
you'll be invited to participate by signing up for our newsletter.
Yeah, please sign up for the newsletter. Just another way to kind of be involved with us. We try and get you information earlier than any place else. We love input through there. And sometimes Michelle will come up to me and say, I've got something that you need to put in the newsletter this week that only goes out to those people who have subscribed to the newsletter.
That's right. Yeah, it's fun doing that. And, we appreciate those of you who have already signed up for the newsletter.
Yeah, it's exciting to see it grow every once in a while. We'll get more people in there, and that's a lot of fun. So also, we love hearing from you on social media. Please follow us on Twitter. We're at Hyperion Podcast there. Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. If you are on Facebook, come on over and join us in our Hyperion Adventurers Facebook group. Just a great space for positive Disney energy. We're just having a lot of fun talking about Disney, sharing Disney experiences, sharing our Hyperion adventures out there. And we hope you'll join us there.
Right. And again, thank you to those of you who've already joined. Please invite your friends and family.
Yeah, it's another group that's growing, it seems like, every single day.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
We're glad to have
fun.
more and more Hyperion adventurers joining us there. Also, we are on YouTube. If you want to find us there, do a quick search for Hyperion Adventures Podcast, hit subscribe, and you'll know whenever we have a new video there. And if you ever want to email us for any reason, please hit us up at our Gmail account, HyperionAdventuresPodcast@gmail.com.
That's right. As we say every week, we really do love hearing from you all. Those of you who take the time, some are just saying hi, and we appreciate that.
Yes. Just for whatever reason you would want to discuss anything with us. We just love the interaction, no matter how it is, whether it's through the Gmail account, through social media, whatever it may be. So also, if you find any value in this show and you want to throw a little support our way, there's a couple of ways to do that. One is to go through our Spreadshirt shop, where we have lots of different items with various different logos, sizes, colors, all sorts of interesting stuff. Just go to spreadshirt.com and look for Hyperion Adventures Podcast there, and that's where you can get some of our cool stuff.
Right. Last night, I ordered us some matching PJs for Christmas with our Christmas logo. Yes!
Matching PJs. That'll be something. I love it. Yes, we do have a holiday logo that came out. I think it was just last year that we did the holiday logo, and that is one of the logos that you can purchase there, along with our hashtag Real Men Love Frozen, heading to Hyperion Adventureland, and of course our typical Hyperion Adventures podcast logo. So please check out that stuff there. And if you can also support this show by becoming a Patreon member on our Patreon page. Just go to patreon.com/Hyperion Adventures Podcast. Tier starting as low as $2 per week. We have lots of swag that goes out at all the tiers. If you're in a little higher tier, we have stuff that involves our Disney Dishes blog with recipes that we only get together just for you. You are the only ones that will be seeing these recipes, receiving them every month. And, one thing we decided early on with our Patreon page is that we were never going to make our show be something that you had to pay for or, exclusive in that way. So that's why we're using the Disney Dishes blog as that kind of extra added bonus for helping us support this podcast.
Right. And we also have some other items that are going to be coming your way that are going to be available only to the higher tiers in terms of some planning guides, etc.
Ooh, that's exciting stuff. You heard it here first, folks. And of course, we are also planning on doing eventually some sort of get together, a show involved with those who are members of our Patreon group. So, and by the way, I released something this week. If you signed up, we've already done 4 Disney Dishes blog recipes of the month. If you sign up this month at the Explorer level or above, not only will you receive all the swag we normally give out, including the future Disney Dishes blog recipes of the month, you can pick one of the past ones that we've done and we'll send you that one as well. So just an added bonus for signing up here in November.
Yeah, very cool. And there's another way that you can help support us that is really beneficial, and that 2 simple ways, actually. One is telling a friend or family about this podcast, encouraging them to listen as well. And the other way is by giving us a 5-star review.
Yes, 5-star review. We love them. And if you give us a review, 5-star review, not a 1-star review, we may not read that one on the show. Maybe we would. I don't know. It depends on what was said in it. But a 5-star review, definitely we will read that on the show in the future.
Right.
So speaking of, we talked about some support and interaction with our show. Well, we are closing down another category for our Hyperion Adventures podcast, Disney Hall of Fame. So this week's category, or it's been a couple weeks category, was Best Disney and or Pixar animated film. Now, we already have some films that have made it into our Hall of Fame in the first 2 years. Those would be Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, and Toy Story. So those were out of the mix already, but every other film that has been released since Disney started was available and up for nomination. So before we get to what the final ballot consists of course, we like to give our list as well. So when we do these things, we always start with Michelle because she's wonderful, awesome, great. She does the best research. She gives the best tips, but she also has the very best list. So Michelle, let the listeners know what your list of nominees are for Best Disney and or Pixar animated film. Okay,
in no particular order. And I do think I have probably some that are more obscure than others.
Really? From you? Shocking.
I know. So one of them is Princess and the Frog. I just think that whole film has such wonderful messages and uplifting spirit type of message.
Agreed.
Or a
great
theme.
Movie. Great movie for sure.
Onward, again, I think that's, really showing, family bonds. And, as when we talked about that show one time on one of our episodes, I kind of gave some of my personal.
Yeah, I know Onward really struck a chord with you for sure.
Definitely. Yeah. Zootopia, again, different kind of message, but very important message and just fun to watch too.
Love Zootopia.
Yeah. Okay. Here I know I'm probably not in the majority with the next.
No, here we go.
But they are great animated films. One of them is Candace Against the Universe.
Phineas and Ferb the movie.
Yes. It really is awesome.
I love that.
Yeah. I mean, the music in it is so hilarious and such great comedy. I love how they break the fourth wall. Isn't that what it's called? And it's just great movie. And the other one, and this is one we've talked about in some past episodes as well, is the Tigger movie. Don't call me corny. I am corny. But I mean, it really shows that family goes beyond just blood relatives and that you may be looking for that relationship and it's already out there ready for you.
It's cute. Love the Tigger movie.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. So
now Michelle's list, always the best list.
Let's hear yours, honey.
My list is in alphabetical order, no particular ranking order, but here are mine for, I picked Coco. Of course, the Pixar film. Love Coco.
Yeah.
Frozen and Frozen 2, because hashtag real men love Frozen and hashtag real men love Frozen 2. Monsters, Inc., because it has a special place in our heart. Tangled, because also hashtag real men love Tangled as well. And Wall-E. I love Wall-E. Yeah. Wall-E is one of my favorite films of all time.
Right. So. It was hard leaving some of those off.
Yeah, I agree. There's so many great ones. I had some difficulty. Some of the ones you named were very close to making my list. Right. So I still went above by one.
Right.
I still did 5-ish. But I couldn't go too crazy with it. So, but let's get to what our actual final ballot nominees will be. And this will be in alphabetical order. And we'll start with Brave. Brave made it in, so very happy that Brave is going to be part of that. We really, that's another movie that has a tender place in our heart for that one. Coco did make it in. Finding Nemo, another great Pixar film. Love Finding Nemo. Right. Monsters, Inc. did make it in.
Good.
Peter Pan, classic Disney. Yeah. Peter Pan made it in. Pinocchio, talking about another Disney classic. That one made it. Tangled, yes, Tangled made it.
I'm not suspicious at all of that one.
You may notice that we've gone, this is in alphabetical order. There was a couple key movies that I loved that did not make it in. So just know that I wasn't twisting this in any way.
Just kidding.
The Lion King made it in. The Little Mermaid as well. The Princess and the Frog did make it. Wall-E, yes. And yes, Zootopia made it in just by the skin of their animal-loving teeth there, made it in. So those will all be on our final ballot coming up here in about a month or so. And we're putting together already the little gift package, whatever it may be, that we're going to give out for one person who votes in that final ballot, and we'll let you know when that happens. Now, we do have a new category open for our Hyperion Adventures Disney Hall of Fame, another classic category, and that is Best Disney Animated Character.
Cool.
So you can vote for, nominate any Disney animated character from Disney or from Pixar. However, we do have a few that have already made it into our Hall of Fame. We actually grandfathered in the whole entire Sensational Six. So Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, Donald, Daisy, and Pluto are already in. Also making it in within the last couple of years have been Genie from Aladdin and Woody from Toy Story. And just last year, Wall-E made it in. So any other character is up for nomination, and we'll have those open for the next couple of weeks. Cool. And of course, just like this week, we will go over the final ballot in a couple of weeks.
Right.
So, but enough about this. Let's get to the fun thing that we always wonder if Michelle will remember. I think she did this time.
Just barely.
Just barely.
Just barely before going on.
We like to look back at some of the interesting things that happened this week, or what is our most interesting thing, or at least our favorite thing from this week. So, Michelle, what is your favorite thing from this week?
Okay, first of all, I want to clarify why I sometimes don't remember this, because, you know, like when I'm planning for the episode and getting all my research done and everything, I'm just like so tunnel visioned into
I get it. I barely remember it sometimes. So if it weren't for already written into my notes, I may forget. So it's okay.
All right.
I have a cheat sheet ahead of time.
You know, I think there are several things that I was very happy for. One of which was I did get to work from home one day this week, so nice, it was really nice to be home for that. But I think what I really wanted to highlight today is just the confirmation that kids can be vaccinated. The 5 to 11 age group can now be receive their COVID vaccines, and our clinic will be doing that. So a lot of extra work in regards to preparing for that, but
the appointments booked up pretty quickly, didn't they?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Phew, that's great. So, yep, we're geared up and ready to go, but just happy that that's happening. Some more things that will really help get things to return to more normal,
Yes.
So.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people that have been waiting for that, looking forward to that when that would occur, and the announcement and it starting this week was great news. And of course, the vaccine is safe for those ages 5 to 11, correct?
Right, correct.
Yes.
It's a different dose. It's a smaller dose.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It is safe and effective for everybody.
Exactly.
But yes, even ages 5 to 11. So that's good news. So yes,
Mm-hmm.
great news. Great stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, that day on Thursday when you got to stay home from work was really, really nice.
Oh,
It was
thank
really
you.
nice to spend the day at home with you, even though we were both working on different things throughout
Right.
the day. So.
Yeah. So-
You even had a meeting you had to go to that you had to do the old school from home where you dressed up from the top, from the waist up, from the Zoom meeting to be
Right.
ready for it. It was pretty funny. So. My favorite thing from this week, well, I wasn't expecting this. I hadn't really been thinking about it, but then it popped up on social media and I shared it with everybody out there. This week marked the 20th anniversary of the debut of Monsters, Inc. in theaters. It also marked the 20th year anniversary of our first Disney movie date together, which was Monsters, Inc.
Yeah.
Started our Disney shenanigans right there. You know, that is reason why I nominated it earlier in our animated films, but it is a film that will always be close to our hearts. We love the characters, love the storyline, but we also love that was our first Disney really experience together.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, it's very meaningful to us. And thankfully, it's a great film, too.
Yes, it is. It's really, really good. Really, really good.
I would hate to have to remember like something that was really, dud.
Yes. That's a good point. Very good. Michelle always has the best points. So, and of course, if you ever want to share what your favorite thing is from any week, please send them to us through social media, through our Gmail account, whatever way, and we will share them during the week. It could be Disney related. It could be something completely just personal that you want to share with everybody. We'd be happy to share them on the show. Now, as for this week's show, we have lots of stuff for you, including we continue to get interesting new tidbits about the Disney Wish. We'll share some of those with you. We now know the theme to Run Disney's Springtime Race Weekend, which I believe what we are going to be taking part in, and we can't wait for that one, especially with the FOMO from this week.
I know.
But let's get right to it. Let's get to our main topic of the week. So yes, as we talked about in last week's show, we a couple years ago, it's been more than 2 years now actually, did an episode or a pair of episodes that was a 2-part series that were, focusing on the different U.S. theme parks based on where you came from. So last week we did Disneyland for the Walt Disney World fan, getting you prepped if you've never been to Disneyland or haven't been there in quite a long time, what it was like if you normally go to Walt Disney World. Well, this time we're flipping the script a little bit and we're going the reverse order. So this week it is Walt Disney World for the Disneyland fan, trying to give you strategies, tips, kind of just give you and fill you in on what to expect if you're used to going to Disneyland, but you're thinking about making a trip to the Walt Disney World Resort.
Right. And like you said, although we did it a couple of years ago, there's been a lot of changes, obviously pandemic, but in addition to that, just some expansions in the parks and some other different offerings and some changes in other portions of how you would experience your vacation. And so we just thought it would be best to, just revamp it and redo these episodes.
Right. So, and note again that we are recording this on November 7th, 2021. Things are changing still all the time. So, what is true today may not necessarily be true tomorrow, but these are the facts as we know them now, and hopefully they will be helpful for you. So, as we talked about last week's show, I grew up on the West Coast going to Disneyland. Michelle, on the other hand, grew up on the East Coast visiting Walt Disney World. So, coming from tiny Disneyland, as I knew it, tiny compact Disneyland, getting to go to Walt Disney World for the first time, the size of it was somewhat overwhelming.
Right. And just kind of the way you have to approach it.
Yeah. So good planning can make the difference to you if you're used to being in tiny Disneyland where, you can go in between parks easily and there's a lot more attractions within single parks and everything else. So planning this out, knowing how to approach going to Walt Disney World for your vacation can help you a ton.
Right. And again, our, like we mentioned last week, our goal is just to, one, provide some ideas and tips to know what to expect so that your experience is even better, that you don't experience some disappointments. And believe it or not, I've actually have heard from people who have been disappointed going to Walt Disney World from Disneyland with some aspects of what they weren't normally experiencing when they were at Disneyland.
Yeah, we talked about the size thing last week with Disneyland coming from the Walt Disney World Resort, and how looking at Sleeping Beauty Castle can be a little underwhelming when you've experienced Cinderella Castle for so long. Well, it's a completely different animal when you're talking about going the other way, and how things are spread out, and how you at Walt Disney World, and how it could feel like you're missing out on so much if you don't approach it the right way.
Right. Or that, at Disneyland, you have, whether you're talking either of their parks, you have so many attractions to go to within one park. And then at Walt Disney World, to experience, even the duplications of some of those attractions, you have to go to multiple parks.
Yes. So we're going to try and get you as prepped as we possibly can for that experience. And we'll start with, just getting there. Like, what happens when you just are actually getting to the Walt Disney World Resort? And we'll start with Michelle to kind of explain a little bit of the transportation that comes with how you get to Walt Disney World itself.
Right. Unlike here on the West Coast, typically Orlando International Airport would be the airport that you would arrive in. I mean, as we talked last week, there are a couple other ones within Florida, but obviously the distance to the parks is longer than the one at Orlando International. So right now, if you were to land at Orlando International up until the end of this year, you could use Magical Express. So whether you're making a new reservation for now that will arrive by the 31st of December, you can use that. But let's really focus on what you have outside of that as an option, because if you're not coming in the next few weeks, then that will no longer be available to you. But what will be, and which is pretty comparable because it's provided by the same company as Disney Express, is Mears Connect. And so you could just research that, to see what the prices are based on your family size or whatever, and see is that. But that is going to be, there is an additional fee to that, unlike the Magical Express. But in terms of knowing who's providing that service and, the logistics of it, it's pretty comparable.
Yeah, and because if you are taking Disney Magical Express, or have in the past, that is run by Mears.
Right.
It's the same service. It's just in a different name with a fee added to it.
Right.
Now. Yes.
So that's one option. And, our purpose for this show is really to enlighten you on what things to expect. There's a lot of details in any of planning, and this is not the episode to do that, or we'd be on all afternoon.
Yes, which we were last week, and who knows, maybe it's again today.
We're going to
try and be more succinct today. Yes.
The other option, obviously, is you could rent a car, and there's some definite pros to that. One, it gives you the flexibility, to go when you want to go. Like if you're going from your resort to the parks, you just get in your car and you go. Unlike the transportation that Disney provides complimentary, then you could be waiting, up to 20 minutes or more for transportation. So there's a plus to that. And it gives you the opportunity, obviously, to go to other places within Florida to visit. Some of the cons on that process, though, is you do have to pay for parking at the resort for overnight stays. You don't have to pay at the parks. That's free with your, the fact that you're staying on property. But you do have to pay for that. And another option that has become more and more popular with people is ride shares. And there's a lot of different companies with that. And based on, again, how small or large of a group you are, is something that you could research. But the other one I want to bring up is what I call bit of both, a little bit of our galaxy.
Bit of both.
Bit of both. Guardians of the Galaxy theme there. Is that you could actually do a little of both. You could do, for example, a ride share or Mears Connect just one way, just over to bringing you to Walt Disney World. And that could kind of save you some money from renting a car, the daily fees of a rental car plus the daily parking of a rental. But then if you want to eventually get a car, let's say to go back to the airport or just to travel around and do some other things in Orlando, is you could arrange for a rental car at Disney's Disney's Car Care Center, right, which is right on property there. And that way you wait till you absolutely need that rental car, and then is when you start using that and paying for it. So let's say you're doing it on the day you're leaving, you're not going to pay for overnight fees, you're not going to pay those car fees. And what's really great is they do provide complimentary shuttle with, to your resort and to the car center, so that you don't have to worry about that. Like, how am I even going to get to the car center? They will do that pickup for you. You can reserve this in advance online. You can do it through the car rental, companies that are supported into that Disney Car Center.
There's only 3 of them, and they're all tied together.
Right.
So just so you know.
Right. The other way that you can arrange for the shuttle service is you can call yourself and arrange that through your phone, or you can go to the concierge at the resort that you're staying, or even just the lobby phone. You can get that connection to the car center care.
During the last time during the last time we were there, when we had a rental car through the car care center, they actually called me to schedule the shuttle.
Nice.
So, I wouldn't depend on that they were going to do that. I would make the call myself. I was planning on making the call myself, but they called me before I even had the chance to schedule that shuttle. So that worked out really nicely. Yeah.
Yes. So, the nice thing in Florida for most rental car contracts is you're not going to pay like a penalty fee to pick up at one location and drop off at another. You do need to verify that when you're making the reservation, but for the most part, they do not charge for that, whereas in some other areas, they do have a fee for that. The other important note is the Car Center Care. Why can't I say this?
Car Care Center.
Car Care Center. Disney's Car Care Center is open 7A to 7P. Okay.
Yeah, good stuff.
So, different options that you could research depending on, what your plans are and how much you really want to put into it. But it's nice that they do have a lot of different options for you.
Yes, for sure. And while I will say, though, while they don't have a fee right now for you to pick up the car at one location, drop it off on a different location, because of the fact that rental cars have been scarce and they're starting to get back to speed like they have in the past, but they still don't have the cars that they once had, that they are sometimes pushing the rate a little higher if you are dropping it off in a different location. So double check and do your homework and to figure out don't depend on it necessarily. Figure out what's right for you.
Right, exactly. So anyways, that's how to get from the airport to Walt Disney World.
Yeah, very good. And let's talk about it when you get there. Where are you going to go when you get there? Well, of course, the parks. We'll talk about that for sure. But most likely, if you're staying somewhere around there, you're going to be staying at one of the resorts nearby. Now, there are more than 20 actual Disney resorts. That's a big difference from Disneyland. There are only 3 actual, as we speak right now, only 3 actual Disneyland resorts. There are more than 20. I think my number, I wrote it down here, is 25. I think they've added one since then. So maybe more than that now. But anyway, there are more than 20 Disney resorts and hotels to choose from. And there are a ton of offsite locations and they've built some new ones, as a matter of fact. We stayed at a new offsite location not that long ago when we were there and enjoyed our time there. It was a good stay for sure. So as far as what you want to go with, well, that depends on your budget. And the good thing about it is there are many different budget actual Disney hotels. They all tend to be a little on the higher end. Even what is considered the value resorts tend to be a little bit on the higher end of the hotels. But it's what works for you. So there are some perks that do come with Disney resorts, but they're not as many as there used to be. It used to be that we would say, you want to stay at a Disney resort because they have this, that, and the other thing that comes along with it. Now, I will say right now, they don't have quite as many perks, and that opens up a little bit more for you to look at some of those off-site locations. So you have to weigh it for yourself. You're probably going to pay a little bit more to stay at a Disney resort itself. But you also get like the Disney magic, you know, and there's a lot to be said for that, for sure. You know, so there are some perks that still exist. You need to weigh it based on what is right for you, what is right for your budget. So here's a few things that still do exist as far as perks for staying at a Disney resort. And again, we're hoping that eventually they're going to add some more things. But as of today, this is what still exists. You can still save, you know, money and time by using their complimentary transportation, the Disney transportation from all the resorts to the parks. You know, those are the monorail, of course. They have the buses going, and they have the Skyliner as well. All great forms of transportation that you don't need to pay an extra dime for when you want to get from to various locations throughout the Walt Disney World Resort.
And when you take those complimentary transportations, your drop-off location is much closer to the front of the park that you're going to versus if you're going to drive in and park in their parking lots.
So that is one thing. That is the major perk to take into account when you're trying to figure this out. Also, they've opened up a couple things that are just for people that stay at Disney resorts. You have an opportunity to spend a little more time in the parks. That's because for those, and only for those that are staying on Disney resorts, they will open up all parks 30 minutes early. You can get into any of the parks, whatever one you have, you know, admission and a park reservation for. You can get in 30 minutes earlier than anybody else into that park. And if you're staying at some of the higher end areas, the Disney Deluxe Resort hotels or the Disney Deluxe Villas, you can enjoy extended evening hours as well at a couple of parks. And this is exclusively for you. And those parks are Magic Kingdom and Epcot. Those are only on Mondays and Wednesday nights. So it's Epcot usually on Mondays, Magic Kingdom on Wednesdays. And they will be open for you for 2 hours right now is where they're going. 2 hours after the what would be the park close for all other guests that are staying there. So that, I mean, you're paying a lot for those. Those are the really high end, the really pricey resorts, but you do get that bonus of that extra time with probably a lot less people in those parks.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and again, for that one, you will also need a park reservation and an admission ticket. You can't just go in just because you're staying at the resort. You will need admission, park reservation, or a park hopper ability to, you know, you can start the day at Hollywood Studios and then go to Epcot or go to Magic Kingdom later, as long as you have the park hopper ability wrapped around your ticket or annual pass or whatever you're using. Also, we're going to talk a little bit more about Genie Plus later, but you do have the opportunity, if you're staying on Disney resorts, if you want to purchase the individual attraction lightning lane access, so some of the more popular attractions, and you want to get those and be able to not have to wait in the queue or whatever, you get that opened up to you if you're staying at a Disney resort at 7 a.m. Anybody who's staying at a off-site location or is, you know, just staying locally or whatever, they have to wait until the park opens. So you do get that perk of trying to secure one of those spots if you want to pay a little extra and get that for sure access into something like Rise of the Resistance, etc. So just know that going in. Now, Michelle, tell the listeners out there what these hotels they are, because, you know, it's a little different from Disneyland. I mean, I guess technically there's a value, moderate, and deluxe resort at Disneyland, but but there really is that at the Walt Disney World Resort.
Right. So, you know, I know you talked about some of the perks that come along with staying at Disney property, and I guess there's some others that are more of your experience versus, you know, some additional, you know, whether you're talking amenities or whatever. So first of all is that you really can envelop yourself into that vacation bubble when you're staying on their property. You know, you're leaving like the real world behind and you're in this, you know, like you said, the magic is there. You know, so that's a real perk. And there's some other perks that they offer at these resorts that are Disney things that you wouldn't get anywhere else. So we'll talk about them, but they really have like 4 categories, and you've already mentioned, that have different levels of what they offer, what they cost. But the one thing that is consistent in all of them is theming. They all have spectacular theming that really, you're at a Disney resort staying there. And not to mention just knowing and, feeling comfortable with the issue of, how things are maintained and how they look. What to expect, that high quality of not just service, but of what the room is going to offer you compared to if you're staying off-site. And I think that's one of the things when we're researching to stay off-site, it's like, if it says like 3 stars or whatever the rating is it like the bottom that is almost like a 2-star and it's, an older hotel that may not be kept up. You might have smelly rugs or something like that. Or is it a higher end 3, that it might be a newer or just recently renovated resort and you feel great in there.
Yeah, it really is value versus magic, when you're talking about off-site, on-site for some of these resorts. Yes, you will probably pay less to stay off-site. Mm-hmm. However, you may not have that magical experience that you have by staying on a Disney property. So again, we've talked about this many times. What is of value to you? It may be, and if it's just budget, off-site might be for you. If value comes with the Disney magic, the Disney bubble that Michelle talked about, then maybe paying that little bit more is of value to you.
Right. And so, obviously different times of the year, things are going to have better pricing, and sometimes Disney is offering discounts, etc. So, things to consider.
Oh, by the way, also one thing I forgot to mention that eventually coming back will be the Disney dining plan. And that is just for Disney resort guests as well.
Right.
And it's not back yet, but I don't think it's very far away from coming back. So put that into the equation as well when that returns.
Good deal. That's right. Okay, so let's start at the most economical, and they're called the budget resorts. I guess in comparison to some of their other resorts, they have fewer amenities, but they are really still amazing. Like I mentioned, they have fun theming still. You mentioned some of the other perks that they have, but they also have great pools. With lifeguards there. They have movies under the stars, free Wi-Fi. Some resorts outside do charge for that. They have laundry facilities around it. And like we mentioned, obviously the complimentary transportation. Now with the budget resorts, when you talk about food options, it's pretty much quick service or food court style foods. They may have something that I don't want to necessarily call it a bar, but they may have they all have ways of ordering, some cocktails, beer and wine, usually at the food court area and at a pool bar. But what's really nice is they do have bottle options in their gift shops, and the prices for those are pretty reasonable, especially considering you're, at a Disney resort. And now the rooms typically have like one queen bed and then another queen bed that is kind of a combo Murphy bed / table. Mm-hmm. It's a little hard to describe that, but it really is convenient. It allows you to have the bed in the evening, and then during the day you put it back up. It gives you a table space area, really freeing up a lot of space in the room too.
Yeah, it really is a good use of space within what is not an enormous room.
Right.
It feels better when, rather than just have 2 beds in there all the time.
Right, exactly. Now, the nice thing is some of these budget resorts have what they call suites, and it does provide you more space, more living space, and a kitchenette. So if you're a family of 6, this might be a good option for you. You still have the ability to be in a budget resort, but you have the comfort and space to allow for more guests. Mm-hmm. That's the first level. The next level up from that is called moderate resorts. And as you would expect, it's a step up with some more amenities. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit more expensive, but they do offer all the same amenities that the budget resorts have. They typically have at least one table service restaurant. Now, that being said, as we've mentioned to some other things, not all of them have their table service restaurant open yet.
Right, thanks to the pandemic.
Right. So, But they also have, and I'm not trying to make this all about alcohol, but they do have more.
We usually do.
They do have a more traditional bar, and one of our faves is the River Roost at Port Orleans, where Yeehaw Bob Jackson performs. So he's not performing every night, so you just look at the schedule. But again, it just provides a little bit more comfort and other amenities to the resort compared to a budget.
Yeah. And by the way, we've mentioned this in the past about Yeehaw Bob. Even though he does perform in a lounge, don't think that it's not a family friendly
oh my
show.
Gosh, no, yeah,
it's a very family friendly experience, even though there is alcohol, in abundance there.
Right. But you can also get non-alcoholic things, and it can be for, even
food.
Little kids,
and
right?
There's food there too.
Right, exactly. So, the next two levels, I'm going to just, for time's sake, going to combine them because there's a lot of similarities with what they offer, and that's the deluxe or the deluxe villa resorts. And these are your high ends that are favorite places that people love to stay at. So whether you're talking, like the deluxe resorts like Contemporary, Grand Floridian, Poly, or the villas where they have vacation DVC resorts as well. One of the things, obviously, they'll have larger, more grandiose lobbies. Obviously, that like 4-diamond type resort that you would expect. They have more options, obviously, for dining. So they do have quick service available for you if that's something that is a convenience of you. But they also have table service dining, and these are the restaurants that you would, if you're really interested in going to, which they're really phenomenal, that you would want to seek out a reservation in advance. They do have some, walk up or same day, but it's less than you would expect, I think.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of that, if you are looking to make dining reservations, they are 60 days out now. They used to be, when you were staying on property, 120 days out.
Right.
Now it's 60 days out for everybody. So just know that going in, that if you're planning this, and that's similar to Disneyland. Disneyland, is since this is for Disneyland fans.
Right.
Disneyland right now, if you're trying to make a reservation, they start at 60 days out. Mm-hmm. Same with Walt Disney World at this point.
Right. So very good point. So the other thing with these resorts is they're typically situated closer to the parks than the other resorts. I think the one difference, one might say the Animal Kingdom Lodge is a little further. It's close to Animal Kingdom.
Well, it is on Animal Kingdom land.
Right,
but, yes.
But it's not like you could walk to the park, whereas the other ones, you might be able to consider.
Lot of them, most of them you are within. There's some of them that are not.
Right.
Some of the DVC is like Saratoga Springs and such are not necessarily walkable to the parks, but a lot of them, like the Boardwalk and the Riviera, has easy train. You can't walk from the Riviera, but it's got the Skyliner running right through it. Of course, the Bay Lake Towers, the Contemporary are within walking distance of Magic Kingdom, etc.
Yes. So, these are great resorts. You do feel the luxury when you go into these deluxe or resorts or deluxe villas. You're going to get all the service, the signature service that you would expect in any of these, high-end resorts. And obviously that comes with the price tag of it. But they are really, like I said, can make your experience so much more elevated. Now with the villas, the one thing about the villas is they do provide you some real home comfort as well. So depending on if you get like a 1-bedroom and up, you'll have a full kitchen, all the appliance and cookery needs you could ever want there. Even their studios have like kitchenettes at least. So and sitting areas, etc. So that, you have more space and more amenities in that regards as well. Now, there are some insanely majestic ones that are available if you, whether you're going on, paying for it or on DVC points, that we just want to point out. Now, not all the deluxe resorts are like this, although they all offer something like this, but there's for example, the 3-bedroom villas at Bay Lake Tower and Animal Kingdom resorts, where they have the floor-to-ceiling windows, and they're on several different levels with spectacular views. Those are amazing. The bungalows on the water at the Polynesian, these are resorts that, it is a bungalow on stilts on the water. You have your own deck and a plunge pool. You're overlooking where you could see the fireworks in the evening. It's just really special. Another one that is special is the tree houses at Saratoga Springs. I mean, you're actually, again, stilts out, above the land in the trees. It's really a unique experience and view. And then I think our very fave is the cabins at Copper Creek. Here you have fireplaces, again, private porch. You have your own hot tub. I mean, it is just an amazing experience to have a vacation in that type of
not that we've experienced it yet, but it is on our list of things to do.
We've toured it.
We've toured
it. It's spectacular. And by the way, if you are, interested in touring those locations, you can check in with a DVC representative at the hotels, and they'll arrange for you to have a tour to see what some of these locations are like. And obviously you don't have, those are like the upper end ones, but you can at different times of the year, even with deluxe resorts such as like Yacht and Beach Club, which have like the best pools on property. You can sometimes really secure some really great bargains when they have some deals going on there. So anyways, and or maybe your budget permits that you can splurge like that and go for it, but it's just spectacular.
Yeah, those are great rooms and great areas, and they are great hotels. They really are.
Right.
I mean, they talk a little bit more about them in the as we go through this episode here.
Right. So, but I mean, like you said, if you've only been to Disneyland, to see that many options available to you is pretty impressive. And again, like you said, it can be overwhelming because it does add a level of planning that you wouldn't normally have.
For sure. Yep, for sure. So
great
stuff there. Yeah. So we've gone through the transportation, we've gone through the hotels, but what have we not gotten to yet? Well, the parks themselves, of course. It's a little different than Disneyland, like we've talked about. Disneyland, everything is really, really close together, really compact. You can bounce between, if you have park hopper options, between the two parks pretty easily. It's not as easy so much at the Walt Disney World Resort. It is a big group of land there, and not everything is really close together. There is a lot of transportation to get you between the parks if you do decide that you want to park hop between them, but it's not as easy to do. And as a matter of fact, we don't necessarily recommend you spending the extra money for the park hopper tickets, just because of a lot of the times what you have to go through, how long it takes to get to one of these other parks. Right. So if that's what you want to do, that's fine. There's no problem.
Or if you only have
a
single day to go.
Sure.
But
but it's not necessarily if you're going to be there for a week. Sometimes it's better just to do, price wise, one park per day ticket. So again, it's what's right for you. So, so the things that are different about the theme parks at Walt Disney World. One, again, there's only 2 parks within Disneyland. So all the stuff you expect is within those 2 parks, pretty close together. There may be things that you find in these parks that, this is exactly where I would expect it in Magic Kingdom, because that's what it is like at Disneyland. They also may be in a completely different park somewhere else along the resort. So just know that they have the 4 theme parks there, which are Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Disney's Hollywood Studios, and Disney's Animal Kingdom Park. And they each give you quite a different experience. Magic Kingdom is like Disneyland. If you know Disneyland, Magic Kingdom is pretty similar to that. It's got the Main Street USA, it's got the castle, it's got the hub, it's got Tomorrowland, Adventureland, Frontierland, Fantasyland, etc. And so it will seem like what you would expect from Disneyland, but just don't expect that every single attraction you find at Disneyland to be there. Also, that park is probably the most crowded park. Right. It's going to be the busiest park. Know that going in. that park is the popular park. It's probably the most busy park there.
Yeah, that's true.
The other park that has suddenly become really, really busy, didn't used to be that way, but recently Disney's Hollywood Studios has become increasingly busy because some of the high-profile attractions that have opened there, including Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and Rise of the Resistance, the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, Toy Story Land, etc. And there aren't really a ton of attractions in that park.
Right.
So sometimes you'll have a lot of queues there that are rather long. So be prepared for that going in, but also know that you're going to have a lot of the attractions you may want to do within that park. Epcot is the park that is kind of like the World's Fair come to life. Now, right now, it is going through a transformation. So there are parts of it that would have been opened in the past that aren't really opened. It's gradually getting back to the Epcot we know and love, but it's not there yet. However, there are still great attractions there. World Showcase is one of our favorite areas in any Disney park, just to go around and check out the food, check out the lifestyle, the culture. Thank you. That is there, and just stroll around and have a good time. I wouldn't expect that if you're going to Epcot that you plan on doing a lot of attractions on that day. Not that they don't have them, but you don't really think attraction heavy when you go to Epcot right now. However, you go there and just soak in the Disney magic, the Disney ambiance.
Right. Yeah. And if you're a foodie, that's the place to go for sure.
Yeah. That's where they have all the festivals. Right. And there's seems like there's a festival going on all the time now. So be prepared for that when you're there as well.
Right. And, for smaller kids, although they have things available to the interest of smaller kids, it's not as numerous as some of the other parks.
Yeah. So just know that going in. They're adding more things. They opened Ratatouille recently. Of course, just a few years back, hashtag Real Men Love Frozen Ever After. They opened that up not too long ago. So they're starting to open up more things that maybe kids will enjoy. I think there are
Nemo and Friends.
Yeah, there are things that kids will also enjoy. Like there's the Kid Cot stations where you're kind of learning some things as you're going through the countries and everything. Hopefully we'll receive some news about this at Destination D23, because they used to have the Agent P, kind of scavenger hunt that went through, interactive scavenger hunt that went through there, and they were going to change that to a DuckTales version. We haven't heard if that is still following through, but hopefully that we'll hear news about that, because those were a lot of fun as well and great for kids to experience. Just give you another thing to kind of go through and do as you're going through through World Showcase in the countries there for the little ones. And finally, there's Disney's Animal Kingdom Park, which is all about the animals, and it's really a wonderful place to go and explore and check out the animals. They have some great attractions there. They do have some great food there as well. They do have Pandora there, the world of Avatar, which is kind of an interesting, fascinating place to check out as well. Great attractions there as well. But it's really another kind of laid back park that you just kind of want to go and walk around and explore and see the animals. You learn some things while you're there, because they do have a lot of people out kind of telling you things about the animals and what they do in nature and everything. It's a really cool park. Right.
I mean, it's, somewhat like a zoo in some regards, but it's not totally like that. It is, like Tom said, it's big. It's huge. It's the largest, you could fit all three other parks into that land that it's on. So it is really unique in that it has attractions as well as the animals and the education part about the animals. But like, you just mentioned, honey, those people that are there to explain some things. You don't have to go up to them, but really you're missing out, because they really are amazing at how they tailor their presentation to their audience of an age group. And it's usually just, one party that's there, so that it's not like it's a large group where there's 20 or 30 people standing around listening. These people are like doing an individual, like we've done it, where it's just the two of us talking to them. And then, like I said, we've seen them and overheard them talking like with little kids, and how they adjust the same concepts to be more applicable for kids. They're very impressive. So it's really worth taking the time to seek them out when you're at Animal Kingdom, because it's a great addition that's being offered.
And the park is themed really well around, like, the different portions of the park are based on what part of the world it's in. So you have Asia, you have Africa, etc. And it's themed to kind of look like as if you were dropped in the middle of Africa or Asia or whatever. And
Pandora.
Yes, Pandora. And they, of course, they do have if you want to go, if you have kids or if you personally love animals, you will definitely want to make this a part of your trip to Walt Disney World. They do have the Kilimanjaro safaris, where it's basically a tour through the savannah where all the animals are out, and they do a good job of placing food and some other doing some other things to kind of let the animals be out there so you can see them a lot of times when you're on that tour. So you will see a lot of animals when you are on the Kilimanjaro safaris.
Right. And Disney Plus had a series several months ago about, mainly about the mating efforts for some of these animals, especially some of the endangered species, that if you are planning to go, it's really beneficial, I think, to look at that and really get to have a better appreciation of what this park is all about.
For sure. Really, really great stuff there. And that show is really good. I love that show. I hope that they're going to come back with a season 2 here pretty soon. Maybe we'll find out. That's right. Disney Plus Day is this week. So maybe we'll find out on Disney Plus Day if they're coming back with a season 2. Hopefully so.
Yes.
So, yes, we talked about theme parks, but they're also, this is Florida. It gets hot. They have water parks there as well that you may want to take advantage of. Usually it's a separate ticket price to add the water parks in, but they do have 2 of them. One that's not open right now. We haven't heard details on when they may be opening it again. They're doing some refurbishment for it. That one is Typhoon Lagoon, Disney's Typhoon Lagoon. Not open right now. However, there is one that is open, and sometimes it shuts down during the winter months, but it is open during the spring, summer, and a lot of the fall for sure. And that is Disney's Blizzard Beach. So if you're a water park fan, or if you just kind of want a day to get away from the parks itself, but still kind of have that fun and adventure, that might be a way to go for you.
Right. Or if you're looking at reducing the number of park tickets, like you said, there is a separate fee for it, but it's not as pricey as going to the parks.
So, and we talked about the parks here, but really, the parks aren't the only experiences at Walt Disney World that are interesting. I mean, the resorts themselves are very interesting. We discussed them a little bit already. Michelle talked about some of the theming and some of the stuff that goes into them. Michelle, can you explore a little bit more in that, how the resorts are almost an attraction on their own?
Right. And, that's one of the great newsworthy. I don't know if it is newsworthy, but one of the great things that, as they're opening things up, that now they are, actually allowing people to go to other resorts to do the resort hopping. That is really a lot of fun that you don't really get to experience or something you'd look forward to as much at Disneyland if you're only been visiting Disneyland, because there are so many great themed resorts that have some unique aspects to it. Now, I do want to point out that although you can do the park hopping, the parking is really, they are reserved for people who are staying on the resort or who have a dining reservation. So in order to get to do those park hopping, you would need to use Disney transportation. So like taking, one of the Disney, whether it's a bus or a Skyliner or a monorail
or boat,
that's right, from the parks or Disney Springs over to one of these resorts. But and we've talked about this in the past, that you could do a day of resort hopping, or if you want to do a park in the daytime, in the morning, and then in the evening just pick up a couple other little experiences at the resorts, that's great too. So although there's obviously with some of the higher end, like the deluxe or deluxe villa resorts that have really luxurious and ultra theming, you don't want to miss out sometimes on even some of the budget and moderate resorts, because they have some fun aspects that you might want to check out as well. For example, even just like the All-Star resorts and looking at the All-Star movies resort, for example, just going around and seeing these larger than life displays. It's just a fun atmosphere, especially for kids. I think that's the one that they feel probably the most comfortable with, or, can relate to the most, so that you could try some experiences there. And again, even with their gift shops, they have things that are very themed to what that resort has. So that's something to consider. Port Orleans, well, what can I say? One word, beignets. It's worth the trip to go out there just for that. But they also have some other great, food that you would think of in relationship to New Orleans at that resort that you could check out. But they also have things like, where you can get on the boats, the waterways, and explore out there. They've had carriage rides in the past. And they also have some other, they have had in the past some other activities that you could do, but they're currently suspended. But again, just to go in and experience one of these resorts and just feel like you've been transported to another location. I mean, and talking about transported to another location, the Riviera, ooh la la. I mean, you can definitely feel the influences of Europe in that resort, and just stopping by there and, walking the grounds, looking even just at the resort. There's a lot of great historic Walt Disney artwork there of things that whether, shows what he and his wife Lillian have done in their vacations, some very historic art pieces and collectible things that they have, obviously encased, but that you can experience that, really show you the history there, but how it ties in with, the love that Walt and his wife had for going to Europe, and how we see some of those influences in some of the movies as well. Mm-hmm. And of course, some of the food, you can really have some great French pastries there, some specialty coffees. So it's just really fun going and exploring these different themed resorts. And when you're talking the holiday time, well, I could go on and on about that with the different types of displays that they have there, especially the gingerbread house displays that they have at these places. But again, you're in that bubble, and you can be mesmerized by how much fun that they put with the theming at these resorts.
Yeah, if you go to Walt Disney World Resort and just go to the parks and then back to your hotel, back to your resort, and don't go and explore some of these other resorts. You don't have to hit them all, right, but hit a couple of the key ones. You're really missing out, and it's not a complete vacation in the way I look at it, because there are so many amazing things to experience just in those resorts. We will always recommend a downtime day where maybe you just go and explore some of these resorts to kind of break things up between the parks, right, give your legs a little bit of a rest, let your mind set at ease a little bit. But also just because there is so many incredible things to experience just in the resorts themselves, and it doesn't cost you an extra dime at all to go check them out.
Right, exactly. And some of them are really very easy to get to. They all are easy to get to if you're going from the parks. But, for example, if you're going to check out a couple of the monorail resorts, it's just hop on and hop off at the different resorts that way, or the gondolas, Skyliner that you could travel from, the different parks like Hollywood Studios to the Riviera, etc. Or to some of the others, the Caribbean Beach, etc. So, it's something that can be easy break from your day. It can really help you reset, if you've been like really trying to do attractions and getting through crowds and things like that, to just have that moment to kind of relax but explore something that is amazing. I can't describe how unique it is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, much different than, we talked about, comparing to Disneyland. You can go to Disneyland and not have to visit any of the resorts. The resorts, the Grand Californian's great.
Right.
Love it. It is beautiful. Disneyland Hotel is pretty good. Yeah. You don't need to go to Paradise Pier. But you don't need to go you can go to Disneyland and have a great time without exploring those resorts. When you go to Walt Disney World Resort, yes, you can have a great time and not go there, but it will enhance by visiting a couple of these spots.
Oh yeah, Wilderness Lodge. Getting over to see Wilderness Lodge will blow your mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Agreed.
All right. So I think there's a few other things though that you can do in addition to, hotel hopping, and going to parks and things like that. They have golf courses there. You can even play, what is it called with the
foot golf, right?
Yeah, foot golf. Yeah. And then they also have a couple really cute miniature golf courses there that, obviously miniature golf is a hoot and fun. And you would expect Disney to have something, really spectacular, and they do not disappoint in what they have there. And there's also Disney Springs. It's not at all like downtown Disney. This is huge in comparison, but they do have, what you would expect in terms of like Disney shops as well as other shops. And they also have great restaurants from celebrity chefs. And opening later this month, in fact, on November 18th, is going to be the new Cirque du Soleil show, Drawn to Life. So it is a Cirque du Soleil show that you can buy tickets to go see. And it does bring in the theme of Disney, in fact, the theming of animation. So you get to really experience something spectacular, as an evening event.
So good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we've covered a lot of things.
We've covered a lot of things. I just want to hit one more thing just really, really quickly. And that's because this isn't at Disneyland yet. It's coming. It's getting closer, but it is not there yet. But it is already working at Walt Disney World. And that is Genie Plus. Okay. That is what that essentially is if since you were a Disneyland fan, what Disneyland used to have, which was Max Pass, which you could pay for on a day-by-day basis or have it as a part of your ticket price or your annual pass added on. And this is kind of essentially what this is at the Walt Disney World Resort and will be soon at the Disneyland Resort as well. There's Genie, which is basically that's free. That's free. It doesn't cost you a cent. You just plug in a few things of what you like to do, and it'll give you some ideas of how you might want to plan your day out based on what park you're in. Now, Genie Plus is what I was talking about. That's like Max Pass. For that, it is $15 per day per guest. And you can use that when you go into the park, and it'll give you access to essentially fast passes, or what it is now called Lightning Lane, for the different attractions, except for those ones that are the super big ones that I was saying you have to pay individual prices to get that Lightning Lane access. But through all the other attractions, you can go through, and just like with Max Pass, you went on and you went in and looked and see what was available. You signed on to it, and you would get basically a return time to go to that Lightning Lane for that attraction, and then that would be good. You would use that until you actually went to the attraction. Then you could book the next one, or if it's something that's been like way in the future, 2 hours later you can book another attraction for Lightning Lane there. So
I think the only difference is you will be offered the next available, like where I think that was.
Well, that's the way it was for Max Pass too.
I thought it gave you.
No,
options.
it was just like going through getting a fast pass, like going and getting a paper fast pass. It would be whatever time was available for that window there, and that's exactly what this is like. The same thing. So whatever's the next window for it, that's what you go to. As soon as you scan into that attraction, then you can pick your next one.
Right.
Or like I said, you'll have a 2 hour window afterwards. That once that 2 hour window passes, if you haven't gotten to your attraction yet, it will open up for you to get another Lightning Lane access. So that I just wanted to touch on that real quickly. If you know Max Pass, you'll know Genie Plus. Basically it's just a slightly different name and done slightly different, but it's pretty much what you would expect. So I think that pretty much wraps it up. If you have any questions about Walt Disney World, we would love to answer them. We would love to help you out. We do recommend travel agents are great as well, because they don't cost you a cent, and they know a lot of stuff as far as how to book these things, how to book the reservations, how to approach these parks. They are also great in helping you out for your Walt Disney World vacation.
That's a really good point.
Yeah. So that's it. Again, hit us up, our Gmail account, social media. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them. And that is our look at Walt Disney World for the Disneyland fan. Okay, we went a little bit less time on this than we did last week for Disneyland for the Walt Disney World fan, but we still went a little long. So let's get right to our Disney stories of the week. And we're going to start with, we continue to get interesting new tidbits about the Disney Wish, which we're really excited about because we are booked aboard her next summer. So this again from the Disney Parks blog. They said, it's no secret that the Disney Wish is going to be incredible. The newest ship debuting in summer 2022 will be jam-packed with activities and features brand new to Disney Cruise Line. And you may recall that they teased some pretty cool new programming in Hero Zone, a futuristic sports arena where guests will experience a brand new kind of active family play. Well, they shared a first look at the super-powered family competition being developed exclusively for this place. They say, introducing the Incredigames. Yeah. Inspired by the dynamic characters of Pixar's The Incredibles, this highly interactive and imaginatively produced game show will dare families to take on an incredible obstacle course with over-the-top physical challenges themed to the powers of the Parr family heroes and their good friend Frozone. No capes required. Oh, Edna Mode will be very happy about that. Yes. So here's the things you can do there. Heroes will first test their strength by busting through a brick wall, not really brick wall during Mr. Incredible's Power Punch. Jack's Whack-A-Rack will pit players against Rocky and his raccoon friends, who you might remember from The Incredibles 2. One of the best parts of The Incredibles 2. Only the most flexible families will conquer the twists and turns of Elastigirl's Stretch-A-Rama. Family speedsters will be the front runners of Dash's Mad Dash Mayhem, and Violet's force field swing will send supers soaring across a, quote, lava field, end quote. Not really a lava field, they want to point out. It won't be really going over lava. The strong finish includes a cool down on Frozone's ice slide, where heroes will ascend to the highest peak and slide down the icy slopes to victory. It looks really cool. I mean, it is kind of a blow up, obstacle course. Right. But I love the way they're going to do it because this space is not going to be that all day long. For this event, they will put this inflatable thing in place and you get to do it. Nice. And then during the rest of the time, during that space, they were going to you'll have like ping pong and shuffleboard and all sorts of things, all within an enclosed area, whereas opposed to what it's like now, where a lot of these ships they have it out on deck, taking up space somewhere. So I love the kind of
really hot,
and they also have some great observation areas, so you can sit there and you can show up and you can root your family on through these events and check them out and everything. Sweet. So it really looks cool. I like it. I think it's a great idea for the Disney Wish. Yeah,
it's a great addition to have some activities that really get the family's blood moving there.
Speaking about getting the blood moving, we now know the theme to Run Disney's Springtime Race Weekend, which we believe we will be attending. So this is fun. Again, to the Disney Parks blog, they say we're about 4 months from the debut of their new Run Disney Springtime Surprise Weekend, and they share the details about the surprise part. Again, that race is going to be a changing theme every year, is what they've plotted it out as being. So this year it's this. Next year, it could be something completely different. So they say this inaugural event borrows from some all-time favorite Run Disney events and combines them with exciting new twists and turns for a totally unique experience. The theme will be Yestermorrow. So looking back at the history, of course. And when March 31st through April 3rd, 2022 rolls around, runners will embark on a nostalgic 4-day race weekend that will have them reliving wonderful past Run Disney memories while creating new ones during the Walt Disney World Resort 50th anniversary celebration. Now, here are the races you get to choose from. And these, again, are races that they've all run in the past, but they haven't run in a long time. The inaugural Springtime Surprise Weekend will feature the Expedition Everest 5K on March 31st, 2022. This race will once again feature a nighttime.
Nice.
Nighttime, not nighttime as in, in the morning before the sun comes up. No, this is like it's starting at 10 p.m. Nighttime 5K combined with a scavenger hunt, but this time the scavenger hunt will be conducted during the 5K. This is the race that we're probably going to do. One, we like the nighttime aspect to it. We also we love scavenger hunts.
Right, yeah.
So this sounds like a lot of fun. We got some friends that we're tabbing. We might do that as well. So I'm really excited about this
I know. It's just... love this idea.
Right. And I love that they spaced it. So this is going to happen on the night of the 31st. Well, they give you a day in between. And then on April 2nd of 2022, the Race for the Taste 10K will take place. The event will mirror the 10K from the past, but now the race will celebrate the newest attraction at Walt Disney World Resort, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure at Epcot. So that's a lot of fun as well. And finally, this is one that people have been calling out for a long time, although I think they wished it had been a nighttime race. It's going to be a morning race, but still really exciting. The Tower of Terror 10 miler will take place on April 3rd, 2022. The race will be a 10 miler, but again, it'll be run in the morning instead of at night, but based around the theme of the Tower of Terror, which is a lot of fun. I would really love to do that one too, but I don't think I'll be able to do both, but we'll see how it goes as we start plotting this out. So also they're going to have a sunrise yoga again in front of Cinderella's castle at Magic Kingdom Park during that weekend, and there will be a challenge where you can run all 3 races for a single price to get a special medal if you run all 3, and that is 19.3 miles, similar to what it would be if you were running the challenge, except for it's 3 days, but if you were running the 10K and half marathon challenge, that is also 19.3. So similar in that regard. Now, registration for the Springtime Surprise Weekend begins on December 9th at runDisney.com. So take a look at that. We'll be there, and we would love to have you all run with us. If you're going to come to that event too, because believe me, I think we're going to do that one. Let us know, and we will all get out there together and have a meetup. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Especially since it's in the evening, it's going to be easier than trying to meet up at 2:30 in the morning, because you're trying to get transportation at 3, and
for sure,
with everybody else, you'd have to go earlier. So nighttime's fun.
Nighttime is going to be fun, but the whole race weekend is going to be fun, and all the race weekends coming up are going to be fun. And finally, I just wanted to get out there really quickly. Web Slingers at Disney California Adventure Park has now put a pause on only accessing it through a virtual queue. So for right now, if you're going to Disney California Adventure Park, it is a standby queue only. Now, they did say they may bring back the virtual queue as necessary for it, but no, right now you don't need to get up at 7 a.m. and access a virtual queue for Web Slingers. So I think that's more in preparation for Genie Plus coming to Disneyland soon. So that's it for the Disney stories of the week. However, we never leave you without giving you some sort of tip that might help you on your next vacation. And we always start with Michelle. One, because she's awesome, wonderful, gorgeous, intelligent. She has the best research. She has the best lists, but she definitely has the very best tip. So let's get to it. Here's Michelle's tip of the week.
Oh gosh, you're so nice. So this is really, if you're planning to do a large party trip to whether it be Disney World, Disneyland, or Alani, then it would behoove you. Can I use that word?
That is very well done.
Thank you. Yes. Behoove you to access the Disney Group's getaway team. And you can go online and you'll get the phone number to contact them based on which location you're going to. And then you and your family can have access to like a dedicated cast member to assist you with booking and planning the trip, and maybe even be able to provide you, depending on, various things, whether it's the size of your group or the time of year, etc., some discounts for ticket prices and room rates. It's just definitely worth, considering. And I know, like, when somebody's going through like planning a wedding or something like that, obviously you get connected with this, but it doesn't have to be. If you can be a group of 10 or more that's going to be staying on property, then this is something that could really help you, one, make things easier, but to feel like you have somebody that's really helping guide you in that planning process. So again, you just go online and look for the Disney Group Getaways, and they have the phone numbers listed there depending on which location you're going to be vacationing.
Good stuff. Yeah, definitely important stuff. Good to know going in and get some help going in for sure. So
thank you.
Good job. Michelle's tip, always the best tip. My tip this week, really quickly, as we were discussing earlier in the day, the Run Disney race for this weekend got a little soggy for some of the participants. And this is something I've recommended in the past. I'm going to recommend it again. If you have a Run Disney race scheduled, whether it be the Walt Disney World races, the princesses, the springtime surprise, whatever, pay attention to the weather reports going in so you can kind of plot out what you're going to be wearing on the day. I mean, it could be hot, it could be cold, and sometimes we've been out there when it's been really, really chilly during these. I think these were really chilly, as a matter of fact. There could be rain, obviously. There's lots of different things that you may need to prepare for. So you know that going in when you're planning out your cosplay, your outfit to run these races. One, know the distance and know what you're going to be wearing, that you're going to be wearing it for 3 miles or 6 miles or 13 miles. Be prepared for that. But also the weather itself. You know, you don't want to be wearing something super heavy if it's going to be hot, or something that'll absorb a lot of liquid and weigh you down if it's raining or whatever. So maybe you have one outfit and maybe you have a backup outfit depending on what the weather may be. Basically pay attention to the weather going in, and you'll just be better suited for that race day. You'll have a much more comfortable race experience as well. And I would always recommend this, no matter what the weather is, bring a pair of extra socks. Because if it's soggy, if you get hot, whatever, a change of socks can help you immensely, especially for some of these longer races.
Good point. Yes.
So that's it for this week. Next week, well, we've passed a lot of information over these last couple weeks. So we not that this hasn't been fun. It's been a lot of fun, but it's also been a lot of information. Next week, pure fun. We're just going to have a really fun episode. Better yet, it's going to be a musical one too. So we'll be. This is a topic I've been wanting to do for a long time. I'm excited that we're going to get to do this next week.
That I didn't move it again.
We'll be talking all about Disney songs that get stuck in our heads, but we don't mind it. And of course, it'll be a 5 favorite list, 5-ish favorite. We'll probably hit a ton of songs, and we want you to be a part of that as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then we'll apologize in advance, because after this episode, we expect that these will all be stuck in your heads as well.
Right, exactly.
Anyway, we appreciate that you joined us today. In the future, you can find us most everywhere you get podcasts. However, the very best place to find us is on our own website, HyperionAdventuresPodcast.com. And while you're there,
please sign up for our newsletter.
Please sign up for the newsletter. Just another way to be involved in the Hyperion Adventures podcast world. You can also be that way, or you can also do that, I should say, by following us on social media. We're on Twitter at Hyperion Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. If you're on Facebook, come on over and join us on our Hyperion Adventurers Facebook group. Just a great space for positive Disney energy.
Yeah, we'd love to have you join us.
Also, if you want to check us out on YouTube, we're there. You can just do a search for Hyperion Adventures Podcast. Hit subscribe. You'll know whenever we have a new video. And if you ever want to contact us for any reason, please hit us up at our Gmail account, HyperionAdventuresPodcast@gmail.com.
Right. We love hearing from you. And we also love if you share that this podcast exists to your friends and family.
Yep. Tell a friend, and they'll tell 2 friends, and they'll tell 2 friends, and so on, and so
Where's
on.
The hook? Where's the hook?
There is the hook. That's it. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Hyperion Adventures Podcast. We look forward to sharing some time with you again next week. Until that time, I'm Tom.
I'm Michelle.
And we hope that you have a magical week.
Bye.